Hey everyone! It's great to be back with you all again. After playing and reviewing the first Ninja-Kun and Ninja JaJaMaru games in my first video, I was very curious to see what direction these two titles would take. As it turned out, despite being considered two separate properties by this point, the follow-up games would hold a surprising amount of similarities by following more of an adventure-based formula this time around. Would this be the direction that these two needed to evolve into something greater? Let's begin with the next entry in the Ninja JaJaMaru series, with JaJaMaru's Great Adventure for the Famicom. Developed and published by Jellico and released in August of 1986 for the Famicom, JaJaMaru no Daiboken, or JaJaMaru's Great Adventure, is the sequel to Ninja JaJaMaru-Kun, continuing the adventures of Japan's favorite little bug-eyed ninja. Foregoing the small-scale level design of the original, this entry would feature larger stages with more varied locations and backdrops. The plot of the game remains generally the same as it did in the first Ninja JaJaMaru-Kun. Namazu Dayu, also known as the Catfish Pirate, has once again kidnapped Princess Sakura, and it's up to Ninja JaJaMaru-Kun to rescue her. Yes, it's the same plot as many other video games from the 1980s, and shouldn't really come as a surprise to anybody. In fact, it would have been more surprising had that not been the setup. The gameplay remains largely the same as Ninja JaJaMaru-Kun. You move from left to right with the ability to jump and throw shuriken at your enemies. You also have the ability to break blocks and obtain power-ups, the same types of power-ups as you did in the original, in fact. But there are some important differences too. For one, the game's frame rate has improved dramatically. The backdrop and character movements no longer appear choppy, and the controls are now very smooth and precise. The level types have also undergone a huge transformation, as you now have all kinds of new locations to see, including forests, riverbanks, mountains, courtyards, and temples. Instead of being required to defeat all of the enemies on screen, your objective is now to simply make it to the end of each stage. While a time limit is placed on the screen, you do not automatically lose a life when reaching it. Instead, it causes a small flame to come on the screen and follow you instead, similar to the original JaJaMaru-Kun, when the game felt you were taking too long to defeat all the enemies. On top of all this, the game also has boss encounters too. It's as if almost everything I took issue with in the first entry received some kind of improvement or revision here. Wow! A lot of the previous elements of the first game do make their return here, as JaJaMaru-Kun can still break blocks with his head to get items and power-ups with. The robust volume of enemy types is thankfully also here, with foes ranging from yokai or ghosts to devils and back again. I am also happy to say that your friend, the giant frog, is also back, and can devour every enemy in front of him, just like in the first game. While it is a shame we still didn't see any other kinds of transformations, the allure of eating up enemies Pac-Man style still has a certain charm to it. Once you reach stage 20, you begin a final battle with Namazu Dayu by hopping aboard your frog friend and shooting fireballs his way. You only get one chance to do it though. Just like the original game, the fight with Namazu is treated like a bonus stage. If you win, then you get to see a cute animation of JaJaMaru-Kun saving Princess Sakura, which I consider to be like a true ending for the game, before it warps you to the next stage. Whether you fail or manage to beat Namazu, you'll next be taken to stage 21-1, as the game calls it, which is basically the same stages from the beginning again, but with your current score and number of lives intact. And that's about it. I do consider this to be a major improvement over the original title, taking all of the things that worked well and expanding on them even further with the addition of new stage types, scrolling backgrounds, and boss battles. The difficulty can still be a little unfair at times, with some enemies leaving little time to avoid or defeat them once they appear on the screen, but I found the overall balance to be pretty fair for the time this came out. And unlike the first JaJaMaru-Kun game, I feel like this is an entry I could actually recommend to most retro gamers due to the improved visuals, better balancing, and greater gameplay variety overall. Happy to report all good things on this end. But let's not forget about our original hero, simply known as Ninja-Kun. The following year, Ninja-Kun would get a follow-up arcade game titled Ninja-Kun Ashura no Sho, or Ninja Kid 2, depending on your region. Surprisingly, this game would also take the adventure route, bringing the series into some previously uncharted territory. Would it sink the landing? There's lots to discuss. Developed and published by UPL and released for Japanese arcades, the MSX2, and the Famicom in 1987, Ninja-Kun Ashura no Sho, or Ninja Kid 2, is a 2D action-adventure platformer and follow-up to the original Ninja-Kun arcade title. Like the JaJaMaru-Kun sequel, this title would also take an adventure-focused direction, featuring much larger stages to incorporate exploration, platforming, enemy variety, and even new weapons. The game starts you off with a choice. You're given multiple paths to select from that will determine the level order you receive. A single path in this game is over 30 levels. Yes, you heard that right, an arcade game with over 30 levels in it. Throughout these stages, Ninja-Kun has to face off against all kinds of different enemy types, both large and small. And you constantly see new enemies with new attack patterns every couple of stages in. The variety doesn't stop there, as the level design has also changed dramatically. Throughout these 30-timed stages, Ninja-Kun will visit mountain ranges, caves, temples, and even swim underwater. But to combat all of this, surely Ninja-Kun also gets some more weapon variety this time around. I'm happy to report that yes, he finally does. On top of the signature shuriken that we've come to associate the character with, Ninja-Kun can also obtain additional weapons, such as a boomerang, bombs, my personal favorite, and a limited amount of fire wheels to really break through those stronger enemy types. And boy, is he gonna need them. On top of your typical jump and attack functions, Ninja-Kun is also capable of climbing up walls now. The only caveat to this is that it takes an exceptionally long time to move up, making it difficult when you're racing against the clock. Thankfully, Ninja-Kun is also capable of doing wall jumps, which will help him bounce up walls at a much faster speed. These are, however, very tricky to perform, and you can easily fall down if an enemy manages to touch or hit you while in the air. Still, when going through underground and bonus stages, this maneuver is a godsend. Weapons are obtained by completing bonus stages. Unlike the bonus stages in the previous Ninja-Kun and Ninja JaJaMaru-Kun games, these stages require you to do some tricky platforming to reach the exit before your time runs out. And if it seems like too much, you actually have the ability to walk out the gate you came through and give up to continue with the next stage. That said, you do get shamed pretty hard for it. You'd think having over 30 levels would cause the game to feel repetitive after a while, but surprisingly, that doesn't really happen at any point. Each stage is very much its own thing. One minute you'll be climbing up a large mountain range looking for the right cave to enter, and the next you'll be diving underwater and fighting off various sea creatures. This variety also extends to the enemy types, as they continuously change every few levels or so. An impressive feat. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. As you reach the latter half of the game, you begin to come across some larger enemies that resemble mini-bosses in other games of its type. On top of their size, the places you can actually hit said enemies to defeat them are quite small and hard to reach. You'll likely find yourself failing in these sections on more than one occasion. And that brings me to my next point. The difficulty in this game is enormous. You start each stage from the beginning when you die. This is fine for the smaller levels, but for the larger stages in the latter half of the game, it can feel like a nightmare. Even after memorizing all of the enemy placements and platforms, the game's timing can still be extremely tricky to get right. There's even a stage near the end where you have to know to bomb a breakable wall while wall jumping, with no indication that it's even breakable in the first place. Yes, as you can plainly see, the game is tough, and really revels in stealing those hard-earned quarters from you. And yet, even with that being the case, I couldn't help but find myself intrigued and interested in seeing what would come next, due to the wild stage variety. Would I swim underwater and escape some giant fish, or maybe run through a psychedelic landscape with hard-to-see enemies coming at me? It was all fair game, and I absolutely enjoyed the experience. And at the end of those 30 stages, you proceed to a final battle with Ashura. Yes, the warrior demigod of both Buddhist and Hindu mythology is your last opponent, with Namazu suddenly not looking so tough. Thankfully, the fight is not too difficult, and once he is overpowered, the game over screen hits, and you are free to enter your initials. Woo! I have to say, I was very surprised by all of the additions to this title. The level design, enemy variety, and new weapons were all excellent, and I enjoyed seeking them all out. That said, this is still an extremely difficult game, requiring pinpoint precision when dealing with oncoming enemies, and timing your wall jumps accordingly. Even if you are unable to see the whole thing in motion yourself, I recommend checking out videos of the later levels, if you can, just to see all the wild and interesting ideas the developers put forward here. Very interesting stuff. Like I said, even with all of the tricks and frustrations, I found myself really drawn to this entry, and managed to fight on and complete it, due to that desire to see it through to the end. Was it worth it? I believe so, even if I can certainly understand others not feeling the same way about it. Just know what you're getting yourself into, so you don't go ripping your hair out later. It's precious hair, and I'd hate for you to lose it. And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Have you played either of these games before yourself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're feeling generous, please consider supporting my Patreon, where awesome people like Erica, Cielo, Brandon, and Jedi Dude all help to keep this channel going. So where would these two series go from here? From action to adventure? What direction could this possibly go in next? In part 3, we'll review the next set of games in the series, the... RPGs? RPGs? What the fuck?